Did you take the time to look at Tammy Daybell's death certificate?
No, I did not.
You didn't consider that?
No.
So you looked at some medical records and said she has anemia and she's on Prozac. And you looked at Officer Greenall's report, right?
Yes.
But you didn't look at any death certificate?
No.
Did you read Brenda Dye's report?
No, I did not.
Did you read Officer Greenall's report?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so when you took consideration of why you dug up Tammy Daybell, and by the way, just before we get there, Tammy Daybell's children were never notified that you were digging their mother out of the ground, were you?
No, there was not.
Yeah. So her own children were not advised that.
Overruled.
So her own family were never advised that you're digging their mother out of the ground without letting them know in any shape, form, or opportunity to respond. Is that right?
Yes.
I'd like you to look at the certificate of death, and I'm going to point down to where it says the cause of death. Do you see my arrow down there?
Yes.
Okay. And the cause of death, they list two things on the cause of death for Tammy Daybell's death. And would you read those out loud, what those two are?
Cardiac event and pulmonary edema.
Okay. Heart issues, right?
Yes.
And you saw that in the medical history of Tammy Daybell, her father had a history of heart disease, right?
Yes.
So you didn't take that into consideration when you decided to dig Tammy up out of the ground, right?
No, I'd never seen this before.
You never looked at it.
No.
You never talked to anybody about what the death certificate said before you decided to have her dug up, right?
Correct.
And you went in front of a judge and you put on testimony to justify digging her up out of the ground, and you didn't even as once look at the certificate of death, did you?
No.
Okay. Judge, counsel previously discussed Officer Greenall's report, and for the life of me, I don't see the exhibit number on that, but it was admitted to them.
What is it?
I believe it was 418.
41A?
418.
Still sitting right here, Your Honor.
Oh, 418 is still up on the.
And Judge, could I have the bailiff take back exhibit number 20
Yes.
and exchange it with me with the...
And yeah, 418 was still up there. So
Thank you. Oops, let's do this. Size. Okay. Okay, so can you see that report?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the second
Mr. Prior, I need to have you talk into the microphone.
The second paragraph talks about how Tammy was found by her husband. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to read, starting with the second paragraph to the end where it talks to 911. If you would read that loud so that everybody can hear that, please.
He called for his son to come help put Tamara back onto the bed.
No, I'm talking about where the words start with the deceased. I'm sorry, up here where it says the deceased. That's where I'd like you to start.
You want me to read the whole paragraph?
The whole paragraph, if you would, please.
Okay. This deceased, Tamara M. Daybell, was found by her husband, Chad G. Daybell. Chad told me Tamara had been sick and had a severe coughing fit at approximately 00 hours. During this fit, she vomited, then she returned to bed and she said she was fine. At approximately 5:40 hours, Chad felt the blanket slide off the bed and woke up to see Tamara had partially fallen off the bed. Chad told her to get up, and when she didn't answer, he turned on the lights and found that she was deceased. She had partially fallen off the bed, her head was touching the floor, and her feet were still on the bed. Chad said she was cold and stiff. He called for his son to come help put Tamara back onto the bed. Chad then called 911.
Okay. So when you talk about a lack of medical conditions, did you read this report before you went to a judge and get an order digging Tammy Daybell up out of the ground?
Yes.
Okay, so did you happen to notify the judge that Tamara was having fits the night before? She was vomiting and was sick and was generally not doing well. Did you mention that to the judge?
No.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to the second paragraph now. And if you would read the second paragraph, starting with Chad said Tamara.
Chad said Tamara didn't have any serious medical conditions. She was taking fluoxetine for depression, but did not have any other prescriptions. Chad said the last time she was at the doctor was approximately 2 months ago when she had fallen in the driveway and injured her arm. The doctor had given her steroid shots and she was not having further issues. Chad said she had been feeling sick with something like a cold lately and that she would have gone to the doctor today. Chad said she has low blood pressure and faints occasionally. Chad said that she has been going through menopause and also has been having aches and back pain for approximately 2 weeks and that she was going to visit the chiropractor soon. Chad said she didn't go to the doctor often because she didn't like doctors.
And you were aware of that based on the research of her medical records that Tammy Daybell didn't like to go to the doctor, did she?
Yeah.
Right. And you were aware that Tammy Daybell would use herbal medicine and oils and other medications in lieu of going to the doctor to try to cure herself in other ways, untraditional ways, right?
That's what the report said, yes.
Right. So instead of going to the doctor for fainting spells and for these other things that were going on, she would take supplements and do things like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll go back down. And the next one talks about Chad showing all of the over-the-counter medications she takes. He said she's taken approximately 10 bottles on the tablet every morning that she takes to help her. Okay? And then read the last line where it says most. In that paragraph I just read, where the last sentence says most of what was.
Most of what was in the cupboard.
Mr. Prior, you turn that sideways so he can't read.
Sorry. That makes it tough, doesn't it? I was trying to pull one on you, apparently. Go ahead.
Most of what was in the cupboard was essential oils and natural remedies and some pain medications.
Okay. So it looks like the list below talks about the Prozac, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, whatever vitality extracts are, but at the very bottom, it says supplement, right?
Yes.
And what is that supplement for?
The supplement for bruising and sore muscles.
So for treating bruising and sore muscles, did you have any history that Tammy Daybell had a history of easily bruising?
I didn't see any, no.
Did you see anything that suggested that Tammy Daybell had bruises on her body at the time she passed away?
Yes, there was some.
Yeah, and you're aware that those bruises were old bruises, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. And if Brenda Dye put in her report that they were old bruises, you would have no reason to dispute that, right?
Yeah, I have no reason
Okay.
to dispute.
But Tammy Daybell clearly was taking medication for bruising, right?
That's what the report said. Yes.
That's what the report says, right? And we're going to try to do this, see how skilled I really am.
Okay.
but at the very bottom, it starts with the last sentence. I was later advised by the coroner. If you could read that for me.
I was later advised by the coroner that Tamara's son told her he also takes fluoxetine from the same bottle as his mother. I was also advised that Chad told the coroner that sometimes Tamara had minor shaking fits consistent with seizure activity. Tamara's daughter Emma also advised the coroner that she takes clogging classes with her mother, and her mother has seemed to slow down in her movements in the last couple months. Tamara had also been saying she felt out of her body recently.
Okay. So again, Mr. Daybell is talking to the coroner or Officer Greenall, and it talks about the fact that Tammy's having seizures and that she's having fits shaking, and that her daughter is saying that she's slowed down and she's not able to keep up and that she's been feeling out of sorts, right?
Yes.
And based on that, you didn't take that into consideration when you decided to dig up Tammy Daybell, did you?
No.
Okay. The next sentence, with I advised.
I advised the coroner of everything I had learned from my investigation, and she agreed that the death was a natural one.
I advised the coroner of everything I had learned from my investigation and agreed the death was a natural one. That's Officer Greenall, right?
Yes.
So according to Officer Greenall, in discussing this with the coroner and with all of this information, came to the conclusion that Tammy Daybell's death was a natural one. Right?
Yes.
And you didn't report that to the judge when you decided, and it's not this judge, you didn't report that to the judge when you decided to get a warrant to dig Tammy Daybell up. You didn't mention that to the judge, did you?
No.
Okay. The last sentence in that paragraph, would you read that one for me?
The coroner determined an autopsy was not necessary unless the family wanted one, which they did not.
Okay. And then the very last sentence before Officer Greenall, where it says, it was
determined by the coroner that the death was due to probable heart attack due to pulmonary edema.
okay. And this is a determination that was made by a coroner at the time of what you called the unattended call of Tammy Daybell, right?
Yes.
And in talking with the folks down in Gilbert, they told you that Chad knew Lori Vallow, right?
Yes.
They had no other information about the death of Tammy Daybell, did they?
No.
You had the information, and you're the one who took that information and went in front of a judge and got an order to dig Tammy Daybell up.
Yes.
And you did it without telling the children that they're digging their mother out of the ground. Is that right?
Yes.
And you didn't take into consideration the seizures, did you?
No.
You didn't take into consideration the shaking, did you?
No.
You didn't take into consideration the anemia, did you?
No.
You didn't take in any of the medical information other than you told the judge, there's no medical history here. That's what you told the judge, isn't it?
Off the medical record, yes.
Off the medical records, right?
Yes.
You didn't look at anything else, right?
No.
You didn't look at the certificate of death that says pulmonary edema, heart issues, did you?
I did not see that, no.
You didn't see it or you didn't look?
I didn't look.
Judge, I'm done. This officer's under subpoena to be called back. I intend to call him back.
All right. Well, I'm going to allow some redirect.